we count our lucky stars. So I'm AJ, and a long time ago, Jen approached me at a mutual friend's party because I was telling people I'm an artist or something, and that and so she said, I have a wall for you, and that was pre-corona, right? So and we finally, oh man, it's been a great road and a weird road probably for all of us. So when I thought about what to do, right, for the wall, I like to just like start. I do a bunch of sketches whenever I do an idea for a wall, just like kind of not really thinking about anything, and then I'll go back and I'll read about Edmonds history, and then I kind of, well, my wife and I love coming here, so of course, you know, like I knew physically Edmonds, but then I started thinking about it as like, you know, like what elements of Edmonds is like kind of like do I experience when I physically come in, along with like some historical kind of elements, along with sort of like something distinctly different, because there's so much great artwork in and around the city. And I didn't want to really like kind of, I wanted to be distinct. So I knew that Jen liked my bird-headed people, because I do a lot of paintings of bird-headed and animal-headed people. I know like probably many do, but I thought that would be really cool to do. So so when I come into Edmonds, one of the things I think about is like, you know, when you're coming in, you're starting up high and you come into this kind of like bowl shape. So that's why I kept that's why this hillside is really so low, because I wanted to invite people to come down into like kind of this neighborhood of, you know, Edmonds. And so physically that was important. Pacific Northwest, logging and trees. So of course I love drawing trees and birds. I'm a big birder. So I had that element in there, and of course the view from the water. You can't have both the woods, well, you can't have both the woods and the water. So I kind of, you know, set that as the background, and this is the foreground, like kind of warms back here and cools in the front. That way it kind of sucks like the view in. Does that make sense? Yeah. Historically, I was like, okay, so I was reading about Brackett and what a character he was, and there were so many interesting characters that I wanted to do a little bit of a nod to. Like there was the first female mayor of a city was in Edmonds, Washington, I think. Did I get that wrong? I may get it wrong. Don't fact check. I'm just gonna like roll right through. Anyway, so I was gonna play with that. But one of the things, since I love, you know, reading narratives about animals, is that Brackett, in order to incorporate Edmonds, needed to get a bunch of signatures, and he ran out of people to get signatures from. So he started putting his animals in there, including his oxen. So these ox over here are actually really important. My first design of the mural was like, one of the sketches that I did was of two big oxen, but I'm glad that we steered away from that and kept it for birds, of course. And then, you know, like I put in, I do probably one of the most popular bird-headed paintings I've ever done was a hummingbird sitting on top of a bunch of books, because that says a lot about like Pacific Northwesterners. We love to read, and we love our hummingbirds. So I felt like it was a good idea for them to hold the banner. I did want the mural to be kind of interactive, which is why I placed the Edmonds like right here, so people could, you know, have pictures done with the word Edmonds. And then the plane was an afterthought. I was like, oh, that space is a little bit too empty. Sometimes, like when you make, I make my best imagery when I can kind of think on the fly and make changes on the fly. And that was one of the changes, because I wanted some element of travel, because I was really proud that I was like really close to the Rick Steves place. So like I wanted like some kind of allusion to traveling. So I figured a water plane, like an old clipper. I tried to look up Boeing. Someone asked me about the Boeing thing. I really tried, but there were not, like the planes just weren't the right shape that I needed. Sorry about but I tried. Let's see. I added that heart. There's two big heart shapes. Like if you think about like the whites and you trace the whites around, there's a big white heart, and then there's a subtle yellow heart above with the two egrets. Those were on the fly afterthoughts. Like after I had started the mural, I was like, oh, these would be great shapes right here and here, you know, because it was already sort of alluding to that. And let's see what else. I do, as I said before, I do a lot of like kind of characters on my own. I'm illustrating a children's book with this otter as the main character, who's sort of like traveling, looking for friends, and that's kind of like, I was thinking like, you know, like a lot of people in Edmonds travel and, you know, have settled down here, but this is like kind of their home base. So I kind of look at Edmonds as this place of people who are worldly, and so to allude to that, I included the otter with the suitcase, because the suitcase is symbolic of travel as well as the plane, you know, coming home and returning home to Edmonds after traveling. It's kind of like a theme that I kind of went with. And then all the other characters are sort of like her friends, and you know, Edmonds welcoming the otter back.
Very nice.
Yeah, even though yes, otters don't migrate, maybe I should have chosen a migrating otter.